Human history was shaped by beliefs, and humans sometimes searched on the ground for the creator that beliefs pointed to and pursued its manifestations on earth. Sometimes they searched in the sky and built great temples rising toward the heavens. So how would this search end? In the end, this ancient search turned into a vast human heritage. The answers it found were actually the civilizations it revealed, great civilizations shaped by beliefs. How did humans transition to a settled life? What was the force that transformed them from ordinary farmers into great merchants? How did people living in small groups manage to establish great empires? And how did beliefs contribute to the development of civilizations? We will find the answers we are looking for in this video together with you, in the story of the mysterious Sumerians shaped by beliefs. Sumer was the southernmost region of ancient Mesopotamia, modern-day southern Iraq and parts of Kuwait, and has long been considered the cradle of civilization. Its name comes from Akkadian, the language of northern Mesopotamia, and means land of the civilized kings, recognized as the birthplace of many of civilization's firsts, including the invention of Sumerian writing and the development of the city. The Sumerians called themselves the black-headed people, and simply referred to their land in cuneiform as the land or the land of the black-headed people. In the biblical book of Genesis, Sumer is referred to as Shinar. According to the Sumerian king list, when the gods first gave humans the gifts necessary to establish society, they did so by founding the city of Eridu in the region of Sumer. Although the Sumerian city of Uruk is considered the oldest city in the world, the ancient Mesopotamians believed that the first city was Eridu, and that order was established and civilization began there. It was long thought that the Sumer region was first settled around 5000 BCE. However, in recent years, this date has been open to debate, and it is thought that human activity in the region began much earlier. The first settlers were not the Sumerians, but a people of unknown origin. Archaeologists named these people the Ubaid people, after the Mount of Al-Ubaid, where the artifacts first proving their existence were excavated, or Proto-Euphrateans, meaning the previous inhabitants of the Euphrates River region. It is unknown when the people who would be called the Sumerians entered the region. Whoever they were, these people transitioned from a hunter-gatherer society to an agrarian society during the Ubaid period, approximately 6500 to 4000 BCE. In excavations at Al-Ubaid and other sites in southern Iraq, stone tools belonging to the Ubaid people, hoes, knives, axes, sickles, and clay artifacts including figurines such as bricks, painted items, and pottery have been found. These people were the first representatives of civilization in the region. It is unknown when the people who would be called the Sumerians entered the region. The semi-mythical Sumerian king list, SKL for short, is a cuneiform document written by a scribe from the city of Lagash during the UR3 period, probably around 2100 BC. This list aims to show the continuity of order in society through kingship, stretching back to the time when civilization began in Eridu, by listing all the kings in the region and their achievements. Because Mesopotamians in general, and the Sumerians in particular, believed that civilization was a result of the gods' victory of order over chaos. It is thought that the SKL was created to legitimize the reign of the king, named Utu-Ingal. It presents him as the latest figure in the region's long chain of rulers. The SKL also includes Etna. He is the central character in the myth of Edna, which describes his ascent to heaven on the back of an eagle. Like other kings mentioned in the list, such as Dumuzi and Gilgamesh, Edna was known for his superhuman achievements and heroism. It is thought that Utu-Ingal attempted to link himself to the previous chain of hero kings by creating the SKL. Since Mesopotamians believed that everything was initiated by the gods, and that humans were created as co-laborers with the gods to maintain order and hold back chaos. Early historians in the region focused on the connection between their rulers and the gods, as expressed in the SKL. This list aims to show an uninterrupted chain of kingship from the first king of Eridu to the Isin-Larsa period. However, the SKL is not considered a reliable primary source, and it appears that documenting the history of human achievements was not seen as vital for the earliest Sumerian scribes. Consequently, The early history of Sumer has been largely reconstructed from archaeological and geological records. Instead of written tradition, much information still remains inaccessible to modern scholars. Whenever Sumerian civilization was first established in the region, by around 3600 BCE, they had invented the wheel, writing, the sailboat, agricultural methods such as irrigation, and the concept of the city. Although China and the Indus Valley Civilization also claim the title of the world's first cities, it is generally accepted that the earliest cities emerged in Sumer. Among the most important cities are Eridu, Uruk, Ur, Larsa, Isin, Adab, Kulla, Lagash, Nippur, and Kish. It has been noted by scholars, Kramer and others, that these names do not belong to the Sumerians. They come from the Ubaid people and were therefore founded at least as villages during the Ubaid period, transforming into cities during the Uruk period, approximately 4000 to 3100 BC. Other Sumerian cities that flourished during this period include Sapar, Shuruppak, Badtabra, Gursu, Umma, Urukag, Nina, and Kishura. All were of different sizes and scopes, with Uruk being the largest and most powerful city at its peak. With the establishment of Sumerian cities, their history spans from approximately 4000 BCE to 1750 BCE. During this period, the Sumerians ceased to exist as a people as a result of invasions into Sumer by the Gutians, Elamites, and Amorites. By the Uruk period, trade with foreign lands was firmly established, and writing evolved from pictograms to cuneiform. It is thought that the primary motivation for the development of writing was trade, as there was now a need for a means of accurate and long-distance communication between Sumerian merchants and foreign representatives. During this period, the concept of kingship also emerged, and each of the Sumerian city-states was governed by a ruler assisted by a council of elders, which included both male and female members. According to Kramer, the kings after Edina were of Semitic rather than Sumerian origin, as evidenced by names like Enmebergizi of Kish. Sumerian names begin to appear in the SKL after the reigns of 8 kings. During the early dynastic period in Mesopotamia, approximately 2900, 2350–2334 BC, there was a subtle transition from the concept of the priest king, known as the Ensi, toward a more modern understanding of a king, the Lugal big man. During this time, Sumerian city-states fought to establish control over arable land and water rights until the first dynasty of Lagash rose around 2500 BCE. Under its king, Eanudum, Lagash became the center of a small empire encompassing most of Sumer and parts of neighboring Elam. This empire was still in existence during the reign of King Lugal-Zagizi when a young man, who later claimed to be the king's gardener, seized the throne. This person was Sargon of Akkad, who would establish the Akkadian Empire, the world's first multinational empire, which is thought to have been based on Eanudum's model. The Akkadian Empire ruled over a large part of Mesopotamia, including Sumer, until a people known as the Gutians arrived from the north, the region of modern-day Iran, and destroyed the major cities. The Gutian period is considered a dark age of Sumerian history, and the Gutians were universally vilified by later Sumerian historians, many of whom viewed them as a punishment sent by the gods. However, historians still debate the claims of Sumerian scribes, and it is thought that climate change, rather than invasion, caused the fall of cities like Akkad, or at least weakened them until the invasion. The final period in Sumerian history is known as the Ur-3 period, named after the third dynasty of the city of Ur. This era is also called the Sumerian Renaissance due to the extraordinary advancements recorded in culture. These advancements affected almost every aspect of civilized human life. The kings of Ur-Nammu, approximately 2112 to 2094 BCE, and Shulgi, approximately 2094 to 2046 BC, set cultural progress as the goal of their administration and maintained the peace that allowed art and technology to flourish. Whether invented before or during the Ur-3 period, the tools, concepts, and technological innovations used during the third dynasty of Ur solidified the Sumerians' place in history as the creators of civilization, a fact recognized today. In Samuel Noah Kramer's book History Begins at Sumer, 39 firsts in history from the Sumerian region are listed. These include the first schools, the first proverbs and sayings, the first messiahs, the first stories of Noah and the flood, the first love song, the first aquarium, the first legal precedents in courts, the first story of a dying and rising God, the first funeral chants, the first biblical parallels, and the first moral ideas. The Sumerians also largely invented the concept of time. Thanks to the sexagesimal, base 60, numbering system, they created the 60-second minute and the 60-minute hour. They divided night and day into 12-hour periods, established start and end times for the workday, and created the concept of leave for holidays. Scholar Stephen Bertman points out that the practice of checking horoscopes today originates from ancient Sumer, and that the zodiac signs under which a person is born were first identified and named by the ancient Mesopotamians. Uarnamu wrote the first law code in Sumer, which served as a precedent for what would much later be known in Babylon as the Code of Hammurabi. Scholar Paul Krywak-Sek writes, Sumer, under the unifying power of the third dynasty of Uar, became a patrimonial state, a state built on the model of the patriarchal family ruled by a father figure, as Krywak-Sek notes, 149. In this state, the rulers serve as a father figure directing his children onto a righteous path toward prosperity. Shulgi, the son of Uarnamu, is considered the greatest among the Neo-Sumerian kings. He not only continued his father's policies, but went even further. In an effort to impress his people and distinguish himself from his father, Shulgi ran 200 miles, 321.8 kilometers, in a single day between the religious center Nippur and the capital Uar to preside over festivals in both cities. While some view the hymn describing this feat, a praise poem of Shulgi, as royal boasting and hyperbole, scholars have determined that Shulgi may have actually performed this famous run and that it fits the spirit of Shulgi's administration. It appears that at the heart of the Uar king's administrative power during this period was the goal of inspiring awe and fear in their subjects. During Shulgi's reign, a wall 155 miles, 250 kilometers, long was built to keep the Semitic-speaking tribes known as the Martu or Tidnum, the biblical Amorites, from entering Sumer. Shulgi's son, grandson, and great-grandson also renovated and reinforced this wall, attempting to keep the forces they called barbarians out of Sumerian lands. However, this barrier proved ineffective. The wall could not be properly garrisoned or maintained, and because its ends were not anchored to a solid barrier, invaders could simply go to the ends of the wall and walk around it, which is exactly what the Amorites did. Neighboring Elamite forces breached the wall and marched upon Uar, looting the city and taking the king with them around 1750 BCE. The Amorites had already settled in these lands, but due to the fall of Uar and severe famine resulting from climate change and overuse of the soil, many people migrated south. Among the migrating Amorites, the patriarch Abraham likely left Mesopotamia and settled in the land of Canaan. After the Uar III period and the fall of Uar, many Sumerians migrated north. Sumerian was no longer a spoken language, though it continued to be used in writing, and was largely replaced by the Semitic language Akkadian. Thus, Sumerian culture came to an end. Nevertheless, their legacy has persisted to this day in many aspects of civilization. In the modern age, people take this legacy for granted as if it had always existed. However, everything begins somewhere, and the 24-hour day, one of the fundamental concepts of modern life, was invented at some point and, like many other aspects of civilization, emerged in Sumer. Even though these communities, who are the architects of many inventions from writing styles to various tools today, have taken their place in the dusty pages of history, we still use the inventions they made and keep them in every second of our daily lives. Hoping to meet in the next story of the architects of ancient civilizations, do not forget to subscribe to the channel Primal Tie Races.